Everyone wants to feel special, but what happens when the world and your brain encourage you to believe you're the main character? In the psychology of people with main character syndrome, brain chemistry collides with social media, shaping a generation that's always on stage. Is this newfound confidence worth the risk of loneliness and disconnection? The answer begins deeper inside your mind than you might suspect. Inside the human brain, the story of self takes root long before social media enters the picture. During adolescence and young adulthood, the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for judgment, impulse control, and self-awareness, remains under construction. This process stretches into the mid-20s, leaving the brain's executive functions in a state of flux. Meanwhile, the reward circuitry, including the ventral striatum, is fully active. This part of the brain lights up in response to social approval, novelty, and risk, factors that are especially powerful during the teenage years. Functional MRI studies show a clear spike in ventral striatum activity when adolescents receive positive feedback, whether from friends or from a stream of likes and comments online. The imbalance between a still developing prefrontal cortex and a highly sensitive reward system makes young people especially responsive to validation and attention. This isn't just a quirk of personality, it's a pattern observed across brain scans and psychological surveys. As the brain seeks out narrative meaning and social acceptance, the seeds of a main character mindset are planted. The drive to stand out, to be seen, and to construct a personal story is shaped by biology as much as by culture. Before any hashtags or viral trends, the architecture of the adolescent brain creates a natural stage for self-centered thinking, setting the scene for the psychological motives that follow. The desire to feel important, to stand out in a crowd, runs deep, especially during the college years. Main character syndrome often begins with a simple craving to matter in a world that feels overwhelming and unpredictable. Psychologists describe this as a search for self-importance, a way to push back against feelings of invisibility or uncertainty. For many young adults, especially those navigating new environments or social circles, framing themselves as the protagonist offers a sense of control and meaning. Escapism plays a role too. When daily life feels chaotic or dull, turning ordinary routines into cinematic moments can provide comfort and purpose. This is more than vanity. It's about constructing a story that makes sense of confusion or loneliness. The appeal is easy to spot on social media, where the line between reality and performance blurs. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok reward dramatic self-presentation, making it tempting to curate every coffee run or study session as a scene in a larger narrative. Recent surveys show that a significant portion of young people, particularly Gen Z, regularly share stylized glimpses of their lives, chasing that sense of being seen. The urge to romanticize life isn't always harmful. Some therapists note that a main character mindset can boost confidence, encourage self-care, and help people set boundaries. For college students, this can translate into greater motivation and a willingness to pursue goals. But these upsides are fleeting, often outweighed by the pressure to constantly perform. The need for validation grows, and the story can become more about the audience than the author. Main character syndrome thrives where the hunger for identity meets a culture obsessed with personal narrative, setting the stage for the external triggers that follow. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are not just stages for self-presentation. They are carefully engineered to keep users engaged and performing. Editing suites on these platforms offer instant access to cinematic filters, jump cuts, and trending soundtracks, transforming the most ordinary routines into scenes worthy of a highlight reel. Templates for story posts and video challenges make it easy to slot personal moments into familiar, dramatic formats. Visible counters for likes, views, and shares provide a constant stream of feedback, turning every post into a measurable event. Psychologist Dr. S. Dell notes, social media turns identity formation into performance art. The main character trend is just the logical endpoint. These features don't just encourage sharing, they create a feedback loop where attention becomes its own reward. The more a post resembles a movie trailer, the more likely it is to be amplified by the platform's algorithms. Users learn quickly what gets noticed, and the tools themselves nudge them toward ever more stylized, self-centered content. As the line between genuine experience and curated narrative blurs, the mechanics of these platforms shape not just what people share, but how they see themselves. The scale of main character syndrome is impossible to ignore. In just a few years, the phrase has moved from internet slang to a fixture in clinical conversations, with therapists and researchers noting a surge in patients referencing the concept. Hashtags like #MainCharacterEnergy have become cultural touchstones, drawing millions into a shared language of self-stylization and narrative framing. While exact numbers are hard to pin down, the reach is undeniable. Search interest, media coverage, and professional commentary all point to widespread adoption, especially among young adults. But the viral spread comes with risks. Psychologists warn that the drive to turn every moment into content can blur boundaries, pushing some to seek attention in ways that cross lines of safety or social norms. Mental health professionals document cases where individuals stage loud or disruptive scenes in public, exaggerate events for dramatic effect, or prioritize self-presentation even when it causes friction with friends, colleagues, or strangers. In extreme instances, these behaviors result in social fallout, lost opportunities, or disciplinary action. Dr. S. Dell, a digital culture researcher, notes that as these trends escalate, the line between personal storytelling and reckless self-promotion grows thinner. The consequences extend beyond embarrassment. When validation becomes the only goal, real risks emerge, both online and off. A college student's day begins before sunrise, phone in hand, camera rolling. She narrates her morning routine in a soft, practiced voice, pouring coffee, arranging textbooks, lighting a candle on her desk. Each clip is cut, filtered, and set to a trending soundtrack before it ever reaches her Instagram story. The scenes look effortless, but every detail is planned. She scrolls through comments during class, tracking likes and replies in real time. Friends start to notice she's distracted, sometimes skipping study groups to film solo walks across campus. Assignments slip past deadlines. Grades, once a point of pride, begin to slide. Still, the online story continues. She films herself reading poetry in the park, adding captions about self-growth and new beginnings. The gap between her digital persona and her real life widens. Nights are spent editing footage, searching for the perfect shot, while unread messages pile up. Even as exhaustion sets in, she can't let go of the idea that every moment is part of a bigger narrative, one that demands constant documentation no matter the cost. By winter, exhaustion takes over. The student's phone sits untouched on the nightstand as she wakes in a hospital bed, fluorescent lights humming overhead. The last Instagram story lingers online, frozen in time, a highlight reel with none of the mess that fills her mind. In her diary, the pages grow emptier, each entry shorter, stripped of the poetic captions that once dressed up lonely afternoons. Therapist notes describe a hollow ache, a sense that life only feels real when filtered through a screen. She tries to explain the emptiness, the way every moment off-camera feels weightless, disconnected from the narrative she spent months building. Friends visit, unsure what to say. Their faces are absent from her feed, but their worry fills the room. The pressure to perform, to keep up the story, brought her here. For the first time, there is no audience, no soundtrack, no script, only silence, and the slow realization that the story she curated for others left her own needs out of frame. The cost of living as the main character is paid in private: missed connections, lost time, and a quiet longing for something real. In 2021, the hashtag #MainCharacterEnergy surpassed 1.6 billion views, highlighting just how widespread this mindset has become. Researchers have shown that the developing brains of people aged 16 to 30 are especially sensitive to social validation, and social media algorithms amplify these tendencies by rewarding attention-seeking behaviors. Yet, experts agree that main character syndrome is not a clinical diagnosis, and no official case studies confirm its escalation to hospitalization. While surveys suggest many young people curate their lives as cinematic stories, reliable data on the true scale of this trend remains limited. What is clear is that the interplay between digital platforms and our psychological need for identity is shaping how we see ourselves and others. As long as social media structures reward self-centered narratives, the tension between confidence and disconnection will persist. The documentary evidence leaves us with one fact: main character syndrome is a mirror of our times, shaped by technology and human nature alike.